Joining me now, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky. Senator Paul, let me begin with the Epstein files. Your Kentucky colleague, Thomas Massie, obviously was the force that forced this release. He is saying that the Attorney General is violating the law and could, in fact, eventually be prosecuted for doing so. What's your reaction to this partial release?
You know, I've supported transparency on the Epstein files from the beginning. I've voted repeatedly to release them. I think it's a good idea. I think that trust in government is at a low ebb, and that people need to trust that justice is the same whether you're rich or poor. And people tend to believe that some rich people got off scot-free in the Epstein case, in the Epstein files. So I think it all should be released. I think it's a big mistake. I mean, look, the administration has struggled for months and months with something they initially ginned up and then sort of tried to tamp down. So any evidence or any kind of indication that there's not a full reveal on this will just plague them for months and months more. So my suggestion would be give up all the information, release it. You know, what's going to happen to people if they don't, that will play out over time. But my suggestion to them is be transparent and release everything the law requires of you.
Doesn't look like that's exactly happening yet. But let me move on to another issue that you have been very outspoken on, and that is the use of U.S. military force abroad. You've been consistent Democrat, Republican presidents. What is your reaction to this latest news that we hear another oil tanker seized by the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. military supporting that mission off the coast of Venezuela?
I consider it a provocation and a prelude to war, and I hope we don't go to war with Venezuela. Look, at any point in time, there are 20, 30 governments around the world that we don't like that are either socialist or communist or have human rights violations. We could really literally go through a couple dozen, but it isn't the job of the American soldier to be the policeman of the world. So I'm not for confiscating these liners. I'm not for blowing up these boats of unarmed people that are suspected of being drug dealers. I'm not for any of this, and neither was Donald Trump. Donald Trump was against the Iraq war, against the regime change there. He, at the time understood that the weapons of mass destruction was a ruse, and it turned out to not be true. And so now his administration is calling fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. They should be a little bit, more understanding that term has come to represent basically falsehood in intelligence. So I think it's a bad idea for them to bring that up. But all these designations are steps towards war, calling people terrorists, calling the drug runners terrorists, saying, oh, if they have a designation, well, how did they get the designation? Oh, we gave it to them. And then why is the former president, Hernandez of Honduras, who was in jail for 45 years, why is he released? So some narco-terrorists are really okay, and other narco-terrorists we're going to blow up. And then some of them, if they're not designated as a terrorist, we might arrest them. It's a bizarre and contradictory policy, and I sure hope we don't go to war with Venezuela.
And we did, there were at least military strikes this week against Syria. What did you make of this? The administration has billed this as a response to the American service members who were killed in Syria, allegedly by ISIS. But this looked like a pretty strenuous attack on targets in Syria this week.
You know, it's hard not to want to hit back when they kill some of our own. But I would like to go back really to the first Trump administration when he said he didn't want the troops there. There's like 900 troops, maybe 1,000, maybe 1,500. They're not enough to fight a war. They're not enough to be an effective strategic force. What they are is a target and a tripwire. And unfortunately, in the Middle East, they like nothing better than to kill an American. They do it for the celebrity nature of killing Americans. But I think we have no business in Syria. So we've done this retaliatory strike. Now Donald Trump ought to do what Donald Trump proposed in the first administration, what Ronald Reagan did after the 1983 bomb. He left. There's no reason for us to be in Syria. We need to leave Syria and not be a tripwire to getting back involved in another war.
And let me ask you quickly on health care. You heard what Leader Jeffries said. I know you oppose extending these tax credits. One compromise that's out there is a one-year extension of the tax credits. Is that something that you think might fly in the Senate? I don't suggest you'll support it, but do you think your Republican colleagues may support that?
I haven't met anybody in Kentucky who wants to give subsidies to people who make $100,000 a year.
Yeah.
These subsidies give $13,000 to someone making $100,000. They give $1,500 to someone making $200,000 a year. This is not poor people. Look, we have health care in our country for poor people. It's called Medicaid. All of the rest of this stuff has not worked. Obamacare has been a failure. President Obama said it would bring premiums down. Premiums gone through the roof. Every time we give more subsidies, the premiums go higher. I have a plan that says everybody in this marketplace, and it's only about 4%, everybody in this marketplace should be able to go to Amazon or Costco or Sam's Club, and as a group, a large group, millions of people in the group, negotiate with big insurance to bring prices down. It's the only proposal out there that has a chance of bringing prices down. If you continue the subsidies, the premiums will simply go higher.
You've been consistent. Of course, Medicaid's also been cut. But before you go, we are just about out of time. I got to ask you about a political question. We saw Erica Kirk endorse J.D. Vance already for 2028 for president. That was interesting, but also interesting was so did Marco Rubio, who in that article in Vanity Fair said that if J.D. Vance runs, he'll be the nominee and I'll be one of the first to support him. I know it's early. What do you make of this? Is J.D. Vance the heir apparent here?
I think there needs to be representatives in the Republican Party who still believe international trade is good, who still believe in free market capitalism, who still believe in low taxes. See, it used to separate conservatives and liberals. That conservatives thought it was a spending problem. We didn't want more revenue. We wanted less spending. But now all these pro-tariff protectionists, they love taxes. And so they tax, and then they brag about all the revenue coming in. That has never been a conservative position. So I'm going to continue to try to lead a conservative free market wing of the party, and we'll see where things lead over time.
And that's not J.D. Vance.
No.
Okay. Senator Rand Paul, thank you very much for joining us this morning.